Gerard
Thank you.
Boulong is our guest, and we have we'll have artists or we'll have museum guides, but Gerard is actually both. He is a museum guide at a shy museum we call the Unnamed Museum of Art, or SF UMA. But Gerard, more importantly, you're an artist and you're returning. We had you on a few years ago, and now we're going to do a follow up and see what you've been up to more recently.
Yeah, well, thank you, Rodney, for inviting me. I was in your show, what, 2 years ago, maybe? So I'm going to take a very, very short introduction in case somebody um, don't know me. Um, so I I was born in Vietnam, and when I was 12, I moved to France. And when I get out of the lycée in around 1973, I decide I want to do art because I always love art. But later that year, my country changed regime overnight. My parents lost everything. And therefore, it's no way for me to take um, 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 Les Beaux-Arts, which is the school that I was prepared to get in. So I went and Cordon Bleu and learned how to be a cook, and I became chef. And I have been doing food in for the last 40 years. And 8 years ago, I decided to sell part of my business and go back to my first love, which is do art, painting. And since that's what I have been doing, and today we're going to talk about my painting, mostly the last 2 years, 2023 and 2024. So,
Yeah, so
in
we're
case
we're
you
kind
don't
of
know, my art is I travel a lot. I am also a photographer, but not a professional. I just love to take photo. And photo for me is like a piece of memory that you store inside your iPhone or inside your library. And I use that to do my art. So at the beginning, I used the photo and I pen on the top. But for a long time, I feel a little bit cheating because I'm saying, people will think I'm using the photo doing art. But since I study Andy Warhol, he did it. And I said, well, if Andy can do it, I can do it. So technically, I start with a photo. I print it like this image here. It's 36 inches by 36 inches. And what I do is what I call is I do a deconstruct of that because reverse to people doing that, using a photo and make into a painting, using using a painting copy from a photo. I use a photo make into a painting, but I go a little bit of reverse because when I look at the photo, I have to find where is the light come from, which item that I have to eliminate it to make my photo sing and create a lot of negative and positive. And like this painting, a lot of dark point that you see, a lot of black here, a lot of those sometimes did not exist. But I have to make the dark so the contrast of the green or sometimes of the red flower or the white flower will pop out. So it's a photo, but it's more than that because I have to find a way to make that it look something came from me. And like this one, I sometimes even change the color to make it a little bit of sepia, a little bit more warmer, because the photo is not always came like what you want. So this one is after many, many hours. One painting like this will take me about a month. And at the end, I cover almost 100% of the painting with with acrylic paint on the top. So if you want, you can go to the next painting, unless you have any question for me.
Well, I just want to point like this is a very special painting to me because I ended up actually getting this from you, Gerard. So full disclosure here, I was so thrilled with this. I just had to have it, and Sarah and I have this hanging in our hallway right now. And then tell us about the map that we
Oh,
see in this
the map, I
image.
had an idea last year because for me, an image or a photo, like I said earlier, is like a piece of memory that we store in our camera, in our library. But the problem is with time, with like me aging, you forget about it, but you never really completely forget. It's kind of like an image you put in a storage, you put in a drawer, and with time you forgot where is the straw, where do you store it? But as soon you find the photo, like here, I print on the map because with your iPhone you can locate exactly where you take the image. So I printed because this is from Ocean Beach, of a wildflower. Last year we had a lot of rain, so we had a lot of wildflower, and I love nature because nature inspire me, and nature bring a lot of peace for me. And so this image, it's a little bit of piece of memory that I bring it back, and this photo that I I join with the painting is almost like the location that this picture has been stored. A little bit of for fun to do that. Yeah.
We have a question in chat from actually the co-owner of this piece. What is it about the square format that attracts you?
Oh yeah, I always love a square because technically a square photo, a human being always look at the central. You always, the first thing you do with the square image, you look right in the central. Contrary to a rectangular photo, your eyes will circle all around and maybe you'll find a point and you stop. But a square, you always go into the central first. And square allow me to focus the idea, the image, or the message I want to do. And square is very easy to expose. You can, um, hang in the mirror of a room, it was perfect. It doesn't have, it's never competes with anything. And square, I like square format. So yeah, I don't know what to
Do you,
say.
do you like other artists who work in squares, like someone like an Agnes Martin or Joseph Albers, people like that?
Yeah, I like, and also Andy Warhol also used a lot of square in his painting, because he used photo also. So um, um, but yeah, I don't know, but every images that I do, they're all square. Yeah, that's a format I've been kind of stuck with it for
Uh,
now.
well, let's move on to this one. So this is in some ways very different, but another scene of nature.
Yes, this
Uh,
picture was taken in Galapagos. Few years ago, I went there in one of the island because Galapagos mainly is all volcanic rock, and nature, 1,000 years, a million years ago, has to develop a way to survive. So all those trees and plant develop in some way that can survive like 6 or 7 months with no rain. And I saw this look like a dead branches, but if you look very closely, we are too far away from the painting here to see it. But you can see there is life, there is green, there is a growth in the back. And it's for me, it's magic because this is how nature protect themselves, develop so they through life, through change of nature. but I'm a little bit worried about what we are destroying to nature. I don't know if they can survive any longer with the way the planet is going right now. So that's why a reason I did it. But the photo that you see is very different from my painting, because here again you can see is a lot of black, and that black, a lot of those black for me, because I need to create a contrast between positive and negative to create those branches. You can see that kind of like a pop up to you. And here you cannot really see it, but if you see the real painting, the black is three-dimensional. I built up acrylic to make like a bump on the on that, and that's give a chance for those branches, a white color or gray, to live, to kind of um, some kind of three-dimensional that is too bad we cannot really see it, but actually you can see a little bit like this, um, which
Well,
is
we're
photo
going
cannot do
to
that. Only painting you can create three-dimensional. Yeah.
well, what we will be talking at the very end of the presentation about a way you can go and see Gerard's paintings in person.
But the
And
next
so,
photo you
yeah.
can see, I close up. Voila, this one you can really see a little bit the texture of the background that I created to make it more alive. And with the acrylic that I'm using, it's a very uh, um, uh, like a glaze, like a shining color. And with the light heat on the painting, it's reflected. It's not flat. It's more reflected with the color. Any
You
question?
mentioned it takes like a month to create one of these, which I'm a big fan of photorealism, and I can't imagine like some of the other artists. I mean, the level of detail in these paintings. I mean, I'm not surprised it takes a month, but that is a long time to be spending on one subject. Um, how does it, is it a huge relief when you're done? What is that like to be completing one of these things?
Sometime, yeah, if I spend a long time, I really want to finish the painting. But I do paint because I like to do it. So it's a little bit of like a therapy for me, because it's be an artist and do what I do. It's a very low process. It's a lot of solitude. I'm in my studio. I have my music, and it's nothing else. So one step at a time, one dot at a time, and it's a very strong discipline and devotion, because like I say, a month is a long time going back to a painting every day. But I
Is
like
it
it because it's good for me. It's my temperament. I like to do things slowly. So
and has there been changes in your process over the past couple of years, or is it
yes,
are you
actually,
working?
this year
It's
my
how
painting changed a little bit. I discover, we will see later on this presentation, I discovered it's how to make my own pen, my own acrylic, let's call that. Acrylic, it's a technically it's kind of like a glue and then mixed with pigment. But I found this glue which is transparent, and I mixed with a pigment, and I discovered that I have some type of acrylic pen, which is I invented myself, because it's also stays transparent instead of acrylic is opaque. Because it's a transparent, I can play with layers of different color. And each time I put like a yellow on the top of the blue, I can get um, a green, and that's because it's on the top each other without mixing. Because before you have to mix two colors, you have to put yellow and blue to get green. Here I put one layer of blue and one layer of green on the top each other, and the 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 point that's touching them will give me a blue, and you will see the next later on my presentation. And this is a revelation for me. And I have a lot of free time. I mean, a lot of fun time to do it. it's like I have more control of the color that I created, and this is 100%. I feel like I'm invented this technique.
That must have felt very good. Was it hard to invent, or was it like you had to do a lot of trial and error?
It was a little bit of coincidence, and I will tell you how I discovered that. I will show you. So this is a painting that came from last year. I went to um, Paris, and this is from Jardin des Plantes in Paris. It's like a botanic garden, and it was so beautiful. And I took a photo, and I want to recreate it, that image. So everything you see here, it's all paint. It's no more photo. You cannot see a trace of photo on these paintings. All have acrylic on the top, and it's all a teeny beautiful flower.
When you take the photograph, it must be very high definition, right? I mean, to
Yes,
be
yes, yes. But actually, sometimes I don't need to be very high definition because I almost feel like I'm alter it or destroy a little bit, because if it's too beautiful, fine, I feel a little bit guilty to destroy it. But if it's a little bit kind of fading, a little bit in finish, give me a chance to add my own definition and my own inspiration on the top.
yeah. And the other thing I think people need to know about these is there is really three dimensionality. That the layers, like you can see the paint. It's not flat, right? There's like a certain
Correct, correct, correct.
layered quality to
Yeah.
this process you have, this acrylic. I'll move on to this
So
one.
this one you can see that close up. That's how the painting if
Oh,
you
this is the
go very
same
close.
one.
See, yeah. So this is how I do it. So you can see they have few layers of color on top each other to create the the, the shade of the color.
And maybe let's go back to so this is a close up
No, this is from far. This is what you. This is the close up of that painting.
of this in
One. Oh yeah.
which part of that painting.
Oh, I think it's on the left one, on some part of the left one, um, on the in the middle.
That's kind of fascinating to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
deconstruct these, right?
yeah,
And then as we see the close up, you can see things like kind of like this little bubble here
yeah,
is
yeah,
kind of showing us the acrylic.
yeah.
So it's a really interesting material that you work with, and it gives it a luminosity, I think, that I really find pleasing.
Yes.
We'll move on to this next one.
So this is. I went to a Point-Reyes station for a hike, and after a lot of rain and this beautiful um, um, wildflower. Actually, we sold it all the time, and I decided to make into a painting. I forgot the name of this piece, but it looked like a flower. It looked like a funnel
It must
flower.
have been really fortuitous timing to be there when all these things were blooming. Is it?
Yes,
Did
yes.
you just get lucky, or is it like? Are there
I
things
was
on your
lucky. I
radar?
wasn't prepared. It's so large and it's so tall and it's completely green. And I said, I have to do something with that. And so I took a photo and I make into a painting.
And what kind of camera are you using, Gerard?
I have just a regular Apple camera.
So it's an iPhone.
Yeah, iPhone. Yes.
So if you ever feel like, you take an iPhone picture, but you feel like, oh, it could just be better, well, all you have to do is learn what Gerard does and spend a month. It's really amazing that you're using the same camera that so many of us have on our pockets too. That's the starting point, but to get to this point, you need to put in a lot of well, that's your art, right, Gerard?
Thanks.
Yeah, I really like this piece. Move on to this
So
one. Is
this
this
is
a
the
close
close
up?
up. Now you can see
Yeah.
um, all the detail, how I create the different shade of green, yellow, and white.
Let's talk about the tools that you use. So you know, using, of course, paintbrushes, but what else are you using to kind of manipulate
I,
the paint?
I use some kind of like a needle that I dip into the palette and draw. It's not a brush. It's a teeny needle. Um, that technique actually inspired me from the people in Australia, from the native from Australia. They also do art by dipping branches into color and make dot. And if you go into Google and study art from Australia and New Zealand, from the native of that island, they do art completely abstract by just doing one dot at a time, and million of dots. And that's actually inspired me to use, but I use a needle, not a branch, because I need to have the dot very small so I can make into, because technically a image is a little dot next to each other. If you see a painting that Lichtenstein developed in his art, is it's a little dot that is inspired from a newspaper, print newspaper. So
So
it's kind
yeah,
of that I inspired by that and use it in my art.
it makes us think of pointillism and the Venn dots. But you know, like this is the regular resolution. I don't know. This is the painting as you would see it. So we just showed a close up.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just like with a really great pointillist work, you know, you step away and all the dots kind of come together, they get filled in, you're not conscious of them being dots. And
Yeah.
then we
But the
go into
point
here and we
is,
see,
the
yeah.
Pointillism style, it's trying to be a little bit more abstract, almost like they want you to have an impression. That's why I call impressionism. So but here it's not like a little bit impressed. I try to imitate. I want you to look like a flower. I didn't want you to look like a Monet painting that look like a sky, look like I still want to convince you this is a flower. But you can see I did try to do some uh, painting which is look like a flower but can be something else too. You will see in the next few piece of art that I direction and I'm trying.
If we called you a realist, does that sit well with you, or would you know, do you consider yourself a realist, Gerard?
I don't know. I accept every adjective you can give to
I
me.
know I don't like putting people in
Uh,
art into
since I do so
boxes.
many things, so I'm not opposed to, I mean, it's nothing wrong to be a realism painting. It's very hard to be realism, because if you remember when we tour in MoMA about um, um, René Magritte, and he always say that don't believe artists. Artists' ultimate goal is lying to you and make you believe what you see is real, but it's not real. It's an image that us artists created. I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but that's so. It's not easy to be a realism because it's you have to make people believe it's something not real.
Well, Paco he actually made a comment in chat that he finds your paintings very surreal.
Oh, thank you. Well, I like that. That's a compliment.
Tell us about this one, Gerard.
Oh, this one also is from Galapagos. And what I love about the color of the vegetation on the island is red. I mean, you can see completely cover the whole island with red. It's almost like underwater, but this is not underwater. This is on the surface. And this plant developed a way to suck all the water during the rain season and sustain or survive through all the warm, because a lot of places in Galapagos, they don't have trees because the dirt is so they don't have a lot of dirt, so you don't have a lot of tree, so no shade. So all of those vegetation has to be kind of like 100% facing the sun during the day, and many days, sometimes months without water. So they develop some way, million of years, that make them survive. And I love the color and the red, the pink. It's really beautiful. So I make into a painting.
Yeah. So let me ask you about color, Gerard. Are there like particular colors that you seem drawn to? I just noticed like, they're often very bright, very they're very there seems like you have a palette
Well, I
in mind,
like
Gerard.
red because for me, red represent passion, represent a love, represent suffering, represent a little bit cliche everything I say it, but red is something I really love. And I like green. For me, green is life. It's very relaxed. It's like if you surround by trees, you can feel calm, you can feel fresh, you can feel alive. So it's probably the two colors that I really love, red and green. So you will see a lot of that in my painting.
In not a subdued red or green, right? It's just
No,
like a
I
really,
like bright color.
yeah.
Yeah.
So here we have
This is close up. You can see a
close
lot
up.
of shade of red. That's also became pink sometimes. So, and you can see there are thousands of little pieces, and I have to paint it next to each other to create the impression of something alive.
Yeah, and I think again, like, it's really is great to have these close-ups and then to go and look at the painting of regular scale. And just really like you're one of those artists where it's a great idea to get close to the painting, and then step back,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
See how it reads, taken as a whole. And because I think we don't even see all these different colors from this view. You see like red, white, black, with maybe a little bit of green in there. But when you look at this, then you really see all the different shades of red, pink, orange, maybe.
yeah. And some gray also.
Do you have to do the same color? Like you would be doing all these different colors at different points, right? You can't.
Yeah, so what I do is I mix different little part of colors, and I will paint it all the same color, and I go and do another one. But it's very risky because those color take a few hours to dry up. And if I make a mistake and put my hand in a wrong place, I can destroy it and have to do it again. So I have to be very relaxed and careful and not going back to somewhere I just paint. So it's a little bit tricky.
There's some risk, right? Because if you're working on something for a month,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like two
yeah,
weeks in, and
yeah.
something
I
cat
did very often boo boo, and I regret that. But it's part of
and
doing
the other
art.
thing I noticed in this view is because you're painting nature, it's really important that you don't have like hard lines, that we're not seeing like sharp edges. There's a lot of like rounded features here. We see like particularly these like white elements in this, that
Yeah,
it just seems
yeah.
like it is of nature, right?
Yeah, but the fun thing about nature is allow me to adding a touch of abstract to it, because actually it can be an abstract painting. Nobody will say to you, oh, this is a paint from Galapagos, because it's an image that we're not defined by a portrait or something that we know well. So nature like a cloud, nature like water, nature like leaves, you can exaggerate it and adding some shade, a different color, or some shape that different, and nobody going to tell you that, oh, this is not this or that. So that's why I like nature, because nature give me a freedom to exaggerate a little bit.
The nature is its own abstract creator. And then you're creating these realistic views of nature, but it could be seen almost as abstract and realistic at the same time. Does that do you buy that, or is that
I
just
will hire
crazy?
you to write my
But
my,
it's a very interesting
my
way of looking at
resume.
it. All right, let's talk about this one. There you go.
All right, so
Greens,
this is the
reds.
one
Yeah.
that I start to use the new technique and new colors that I made myself. This is a transparent liquid, and I mix with pigment, which allow me to create it the color that I want actually, and the color that the intensity. If I put less pigment, will be clear. More pigment will be darker, and I put on the top each other, and you can see some green is very green, some green is very light. It's just one layer on the top layer. It's not mixed. It's not like a normal acrylic. You will mix that with your brush, and it is became one color. This is one color on the top each other that creates this this way of light. It's almost you can see like there is a light behind my painting, and it's the sun will reflect it through the leaves. And this is an image from in I went to Giverny, the garden of Monet last year, and there was a tree. It's a berry, red berry from Japan, and I just love it because it's almost abstract to me. And when I took the photo and I decided to make a painting, which can be an abstract painting, but it's a plant. It's a um, um, it's a flower, red flower. It's called red berry.
There was a comment from Sherry. This looks to me like it could be painted on glass.
Yes, absolutely. If you can come to my open studio, you can see the real piece. It's really it's a bright. It's almost like varnish. It's almost like I don't know if you're familiar with some Asian art like Vietnam or some um, Thailand. It's almost like correct me if I'm used the wrong word. Like a lacquer. So it's completely shining. It's so completely it's like a layer of varnish. You cover an image. So yeah. So the
And
next
then Sarah says this could make a beautiful stained glass window. What do you think of that idea? Have you ever considered working in that medium?
stained glass.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but I don't think I will go there. I don't.
You
I'm.
got your hands full with what you're doing. It does seem to me though that the fact that you're working with these acrylics, it in which is starts off being clear, it does introduce kind of like light from the
Yeah,
maybe
but I
the
don't call that acrylic anymore because this is something I invented, and it's a glue, and I mixed with the glue came transparent. It's like a liquid, and I mixed with pigment. So this is from me. I didn't buy the acrylic in the tube. This is something that I mixed two media with each other. So I cannot really call acrylic because you cannot go out and buy it. It doesn't exist.
this is your proprietary
In
uh
some way, yeah. The next picture you will see it. It's very close up from this painting.
oh wow.
You can see the layers that I put on the top each other to create the shade of green or shade of red. And that's is amazing. I love it. And I try to develop it. And I hope that with time I will uh, um, find a way to have more control, because this also has a little bit of skill that I have to adapt and learn, because it's kind of mixed with each other. It's not contained like a dot that I do. The dot, when I put on my canvas, the dot stay. Here, when I put it, it's like a big dot. And sometimes they mix with another color without any control of my side. So I have to learn how to move slowly enough so they don't commingle together and became something else.
You're constantly like learning more about your material and how to like use this material to your best advantage.
Yeah, that's a fun thing to do art. You want to do something new all the time, because if not, it's kind of boring.
Who are some other artists that you really admire who seem like they do the same, they do things like that where they're kind of pioneering their own use of a material?
Oh, well, there is an artist I admire, not because I copy him, but I admire him because he is very, very famous. He probably the most successful alive artist today in the world, but he doesn't care about his fame. He trying to do a different style all the time. He's not get stuck with one trademark, one what I call fame. His name is Gerhard Richter. If you look at his life, he has many style. A little bit like Picasso. Picasso has, Cubism, his series of
Like
uh,
sculpture.
yeah, he does so many things. He doesn't
Yeah.
have one style. Of course, some of his painting is famous for the Picasso we call, but he, if you look at his career, he did so many things. Did collage, the thing. Richter, he's also like that. It is incredible, and everything he did, I really love it. So
Yeah, it's great.
I
He's
admire him,
he's
and I
well
also
represented at SF MoMA, and when you go into his galleries, it's hard to believe they're all from the same artist.
yeah.
So let's continue here. And then he's also like you're talking about new, working with new materials and techniques, and he's kind of pioneered this squeegee approach
Yeah,
to.
Suchi, it's not new anymore. It has been like almost 10 years he's been doing that.
Yeah. All right. So this is we were looking at this one earlier.
Yeah,
This is the
yeah, that's
one
the
that
same one.
Sarah and I have, but I think it's cool to see it in the context of these others. But we will move on. So yeah, this one like you did this one about a year ago, right? This is
Yeah, this is last.
2023, and then this is newer.
So this is new, but it's at the beginning of the year. If you go almost at the center of the painting, next to the koi fish on the right, you can see it's yeah, that's it. That's start everything. That's why the color are mixed together by mistake. And I discover that if I can create this color by myself by having this transparent color which is on the top each other, and I that's give me um, um, how to say inspire me from doing the painting that we see of Giverny, the one that some kind of like abstract everything starts from that mistake underneath the because I make a boo-boo. I pull around color on the top each other, and they're a little bit commingle, a little bit like blurring, and everything
So
starts from that point. Yeah, yes, that's
so
it.
it's right here,
That's right
and
there.
so I think that's a very interesting idea, Gerard. This idea that artists do these things, and we think of them as these masters, and yet things happen that they didn't intend, and from that comes new techniques. That the mistake becomes not a mistake, but actually a new way of doing things. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah. So this painting, I start with an image of a koi fish that I took in the Imperial Garden in Kyoto in Japan in 2019. And I want to create the movement of water and a movement of a reflection of the fish with the water that's changed the color of the water. And so it's from the photo, but if you look at the photo and my painting, it's probably only have 15% of the photo. Everything else is my own exaggeration. It's like a movement of the water is completely made up by myself.
I mean, this is so psychedelic, Gerard. I think this would be like a really big hit in it could be an album cover for some you know, Haight Ashbury band or something.
Wow, yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Um, and then this is a close up,
Close up, yes.
get a better sense of the fish.
Yeah.
Although I like the fish from this view where you have to take a little time to realize that that's what they are. And then this is the close up. You're seeing all the components of it. And you see, you've always said greens and reds, but now I'm seeing a lot of blues.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. All right, we'll keep going. So this one, this is
All right. So this one is a little bit like seeing a lot of Monet, a lot of Sarah in Paris. I say, let's make one painting with completely a dot. It's all dot, one dot at a time. It's a thousand of little dot and make into a little bit like an impressionism painting. And that came up to the. So this is start with a photo that I took at Golden Gate Park. Every year you have a dahlia flower garden near. So this is one of the four start with that, and I make into dot painting.
wait, so is this in the arboretum or is it in the house of what's it called? The Hall of
It's
Flowers.
Yeah, it's outside. Every year you will see there is a garden that have a beautiful dahlia. They start to plant now. Actually, you go there, you can see it, but you have to wait another 2 months to see it completely open and beautifully like this. And this all dahlia flower is so beautiful. Every year you can see that around.
And you're saying it's like late summer this is happening?
Yeah, yeah, yes.
And then what made you choose to do the soft focus?
Because when you do dot, and because you dot cannot give you something very sharp, they became little bit fading, little bit more. Um, um, I mean, if you remember all the painting of Monet about the sunrise and sunset, the church of Notre Dame, it's never clear because it's because of the dot. The dot cannot let you do something very sharp. So yes, it became a little bit more like there's a filter on the top. It's very, very not very um, not a lot of clarity.
You know, I really like I think the soft focus really gives us it's another surreal kind of image to me, you know. Could be a different kind of album cover, but I think really like that.
Now you can see that the thousand of little dot very close up.
Yep. And someone has seems there seems to be a chicken in the background. So if anyone hears that, I don't know why we have chickens in our neighborhood. But yeah, so this gives you a better sense of the colors too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
different. So how many different colors do you think there are in this, Gerard?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. A
Seems like a
lot.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot.
yeah.
Right, moving on to this one. Wow. Tell
So
us
this
about
one
this.
is an image that I took last year in a botanic garden in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. And I love the light. This is inside, indoors, all orchid flower. But the sun give a contrast to the shade of the plant and the sun. So you can see the negative and the positive. It's very present here. And I love it. I always love the contrast when I paint. I always see that first. The first thing before I touch my tool, I look at the painting and see where is the light come from, where is the dark side, and I have to go from this vision to create an image, because if you don't see the light in the painting will never sing. It will be flat. The contrast it's everything.
Is there a single light source for this, or is it
The
multiple?
light came from the top, from the almost like a ceiling, but for some reason the leaves absorb the light and reflect to each other, and it's almost like a magic light that reflect from each other, and it's very hard to define because the leaf can it's kind of like it's reflect to another leaves and reflect, and so the light mixture, and you cannot say exactly what you say. Where's the light come from? But actually, the light all came from upstairs, from the roof down. But
Yeah, it's really interesting. Now, you always start with a photograph and you paint on that. We never get to see the photograph. But that's like
yeah,
part of.
yeah, it's something that's it's funny because you say that, because I almost go in reverse. You know, the photo artists before, photography was invented in 1822 by a French guy, and before that, be an artist is like a regular job, like a plumber or a cook. If you have a little bit of money, you will hire an artist to paint a portrait, a family portrait, because that's the only way to keep an image of yourself for your family, your grandchildren, is to have an image. So you hire an artist to do a portrait, and artists at that time survived with that. But when photo arrived, photo just changed everything, because people say, it costs less money, it's more accurate, and it's quicker, and it's cheaper. So get a photo instead. So artists actually lost their job a lot, and also because of that, it's not a coincidence that all the movement start to change. The impressionism, the fauvism, and the cubism start because of the photograph, because artists decided that, we have to reinvent ourselves. I mean, we have to say doing something that we can actually we cannot compete with the photo, the bottom line. So now we have to do something else. So all the artists start to see something else, and so that do photo art that can give you an impression, like a fauvism is create you kind of shocking. So the photo actually changed on Thai art scene after 1822. And so here I'm kind of go reverse. I'm taking a photo and I'm trying to make look like a piece of painting. So I reversed it. So I see the light, I see the contrast, I see the shade, I see. So I change a lot. I have few painting that I did with a photo. It became more or less like I will exaggerate here, like a Jackson Pollock or something. So I go from a reverse way. I make a photo who look like a painting. And I have a lot of freedom to do that, because why not? Before I was a little bit kind of shy to doing that. But since I learned so much about Andy Warhol, I say, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. And now I have no shame. So I start with a photo. More or less, at the end, I almost feel like I destroy the photo and make something else out of that. And this
So
is
are you a photographer or a painter? Like, how should we describe you?
how about both?
You are both. So the answer is yes. All right. So another amazing juxtaposition of all these colors.
Yeah.
Where tell us about this one, Gerard.
So this is a photo also came from Puerto Vallarta. This is a pond in that garden. It's all about lotus leaves and the reflection of the sky on the top of the water and the reflection of the trees give me an impression. I can make it semi-abstract out of that because the central of the painting is almost me exaggerated to make into some type of image of tree can be anything, and the rest is all leaves of the lotus. But once again, I exaggerated because you don't see lotus flower leaves that color red like that. But I say,
So,
why not? I make
so
it
you do a
like,
transformation,
yeah.
but it's still a transformation that kind of like we look at it and we accept this as like, this could be just nature.
Yeah, I try to be different, but I don't want to be in some way completely exaggerated, like became something else. So because I still love the lotus leaves, so I want to keep at least the shape intact. But I
All right,
always
let's
play with the color.
so we're down to like our last 10 minutes and we've got a few more images. So let's
Yeah.
I'll try to get through some of these.
So this
Um,
is also a lotus a pond, but every color I use here is not real. You don't see color like that. So I create completely
so
different
what is real is the texture.
texture
That's
and
the
also the color. You don't see a gray, blue, and something like that in real life. This is
so
I create some kind of like a image from maybe you will see that like in late before night, before the sun or the color of the moon reflected that give you this kind of gray, moody color.
yeah, the other to me the mood of this is very kind of electric and vibrant. I'd say for all of yours. It's a very positive. I get a very positive sense from all these.
Thank you. Oh, I don't know why this picture came here. This is the one close up of one the
Oh,
painting of the Jardin des Plantes.
but
Okay, this is another also the lotus leaves, but this one I took it in Japan in Kyoto, one of the garden, and it's complete. We went during this a season that all those are starting to die, but I kind of like the decay of the plant, so I make into a painting. And here you can see the glaze that I used it on that. And it's also I use the same technique of layers of the transparent color that I made it to create this luminosity of the color. It's almost a little bit like you say, it's almost like uh, um, there is a light behind my painting, and it's light up. It's almost artificial light.
yeah, they are very luminescent.
That's right,
Uh,
luminescent. Yeah.
how hard is it to get the photograph that's going to you're going to be able to use for one of these paintings? Like, how many do you have to do take a lot of different images to get one that you think will
Yeah,
be
I
the
do a
basis?
lot, but the I think the hardest one for me anyway is how to which part I have to eliminate it because a photo I will have completely detailed and full of things. And so like this one here, most of the blue in the background, which is I want to express the color of the water, did not exist, more or less. But in my head, I say, I need to create the negative and the positive. So those leaves will pop up, will give me a sense of volume, will give me a sense of contrast. So, so when I look at an image, I have to see that before. If not, it will be completely flat because a bunch of leaves, the same color. But if I don't have the dark color in the background, those leaves will never do the same effect. So
Yeah.
that's the hard part. Where can I eliminate? But also, if you eliminate something that's part of the image, you will destroy the idea.
Yeah. Let's
I don't know.
and
So
this
this
is
is
a
a close up of the leaves, and you can see it. It's a layer of
oh,
layers of red
so
and yellow and green that can create it as this you know um, can give me the color of almost like there is a light behind. Or I light it up, and like you say, it's like a glass paint on the glass.
yeah, it's really extraordinary. Move on to this one. Another surreal.
So this
Is
is
those
almost
poppies,
real.
right?
This is a hill cover of red poppy flower. This is in last year in Sicily. And this one really gave me a chance to make it almost abstract because you can see it. Um, it can be abstract. I mean, you know it's a flower, but it's nothing is really defined.
So when we started, like the very first image that we were looking at was pretty realistic. And
Yes.
and so it seems like you have gotten into a more abstract um, place at this point in
Yeah,
your
because
creative process.
the very defined painting like the one I did for you, I have to sit down and paint it one step at a time. And I feel like I'm get a little bit my body get a little bit very prisoner with the painting, and the new technique give me a chance to kind of move around. This painting is on the floor almost, and I painted. I have a lot of gesture, a lot of freedom, and it's compensated. So both will give me a little bit of fun, So I probably pursue both direction at the same time, but each one will give me a different pleasure.
Yeah, so you feel like you are not stuck. You
Yeah,
have places to go that pique your interest.
that's that's correct. Yes.
This is a
So
close
this is
up
a
of
close up
the
of
other one.
the red flower, and you can see it's doesn't look like a flower, but if you see in the context, you say, "Oh yes, it's a flower." But if you look close up, it's just a dot of color. It's all about the context. I discovered that also because I saw a show in the De Young Museum last year about the Anson item um, photo. And there was another artist, photographer, was invited to be part of the show. I forgot her name now. And she said that there are a lot of things we see even if it's not well projected, but because we know the shape of that, and we say, oh yeah, like an Eiffel Tower. If you see a little bit look like Eiffel Tower, you know it's Eiffel Tower, even despite the color, location, everything. Or the Golden Gate bridge, you see a little bit the top of the bridge red. We say, oh yes, it's the Golden Gate Bridge. But because in her head, we know the little bit of the image. Here, it doesn't look like a flower. But in the context of the big painting, you say, of course it's a flower. So I said, that's interesting. How can I project an image completely abstract and people will think, oh, this is a rose, or this is a dog, or this is a cat. Because in our head, we know. But for a child, he will never see a flower. But for us, because our education with knowledge, we say, yes, it's a flower. And that's attract me about how our mind can understand shape and form. And that's what I want to go. That's the next direction I hope I can develop.
Well, let's look at this last image. Another very very pointillistic, I would say.
It's also from the Golden Gate Park. It's a dahlia flower. I decided to make a little bit smaller format. This is 30 by 30. I always do 36 by 36. And now I say, how about making a little bit smaller? And making smaller actually is harder because like a viewer, you are very close to the painting. You don't stand farther. So get so close to the painting, all the dot has to be perfect, has to be almost like in the shape of the flower. I cannot make a mistake. If you look at the first painting I did, the dot can commingle with each other, and you like a viewer, you kind of doesn't mind. You don't care. But for a painting that you have to be so close to look at, I cannot make a mistake. A dot has to be precisely in the shape of the flower compared to the one with the dahlia, but kind of round dahlia. Anyway.
Yeah. So let's conclude by just telling people that we've got Open Studios coming up in October, as always. This year, you're doing it a little differently. You're going to be at the Room and Board location at 7th and Townsend,
Yes.
which is so tell me about that space. What's exciting to you about?
So 12 of us um, have been accepted to have our show in this furniture home. And now our painting will be next to the couch, next to the chair, next to like a living room. And which is great because when you buy a painting, you kind of want to see how the painting will look in the room. And having a show with another 11 artists is fun for me because I always have a show by myself in my studio, and here I can meet the new people. And here Ruben Bart was very generous to give us a party on Friday, feed us Saturday and Sunday, and give us the chance to have our art show in entire space. So for me, it's a fun thing to do, and I'm very happy to be accepted to be part of the show. It will be in October the 5th and the 6th, and you are all invited.
Well, I accept that invitation, Gerard. I would definitely want to come by and see your stuff there. It's always a great privilege to see the work you've done, and then so much fun for me to be able to talk to you and hear like about what goes into these paintings. So thank you so much for being a
Thank
guest
you
on Art Viewing
for letting
Adventures.
me in. Thank you.
And you were the first person we've brought back. So this was an encore
Oh,
appearance by Gerard.
thank you.
Uh, so thanks again. This has been Art Viewing Adventures. I'm going to turn it back over to Nikki, who will tell us what's coming up next, and especially
my pleasure, Rodney. Excuse me.
Oh, go ahead, Paco. Words from
My
Paco.
pleasure. This is so brilliant and fascinating.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
you're a Gerard fan, as am I. Thanks,
Thank
Paco.
you. Thanks, everybody. Paco, we love your input every time. Thank you.
Yes,
You're just such
Nikki.
an attentive, loyal guest. And I hope we make a statue for you at some point.
We should.
Yeah. So for all of you for being here. Rodney, thank you for always bringing us tremendous programs. And Gerard, thank you. Those
Thank you very much.
beautiful
Thank you, Rodney.
paintings, I love them. I love the color and the light. They're really enjoyable. They're very calming. So thank you so much tonight.
Thank you,
Boomer
Nikki.
Music is the Hollies, and Rodney will be back on July 7th talking about another MoMA exhibit, I believe, right?
I think it's July 8th. It's the Monday, right?
Monday. Is that the 7th? The 8th.
There always the 8th. It's going to be Creative Growth, which is this amazing art community in East Bay for people with developmental disabilities. In the art they've created is just extraordinary. And I'll have David Grady, who is a fellow museum guide, here to join us and talk about it.
That's
So
wonderful.
I
looking
will
forward to
be
that.
there at Richie's program, Rodney.
And you,
Yeah.
yes.
We'll definitely want you there, Paco.